Hi everybody, it's intern Ann with Two Single Moms back with yet another interview. In my interviews, my goal is to show others that despite the fact that I have a disability, I don't let that get in the way of doing what I like. Here to help me prove that today is a very special guest. You may know him from Spiderman 2, Saving Hope, The Vampire Diaries, or his current role as Elijah in The Originals. It is my honor to be here with none other than Daniel Gillies.
Thank you.
So it's great to be here with you, and just thank you for being on here.
I got to tell you that I think this is one of the first interviews where I've sat next to the person being interviewed. It's an unusual feeling. So already you're an anarchist. Already you're breaking the rules. No, I like it. It's kind of disarming. I'm wondering why nobody else has used it as a tactic before, because it's like, anyway, let's do it.
All right. So Elijah has always been the most noble of the Michelson siblings. However, at the end of season 3, we see him start to go a little rogue. So is there anything you can tell us about what the future might hold for Elijah?
Do you think that he's the most noble of the siblings? I'm not sure that he is. Well, I guess he has aspirations of being the most noble. Like, he's the only one that seems to be sort of trying to hold on to this thread of humanity. I think the others have kind of dispensed with their humanity. So I guess in that sense that there's a thank you so much. Where did this materialize? A word from our sponsor. At any rate, I do love Diet Coke. Prefer Coke Zero, Coca-Cola, and we're in Coke country now, aren't we?
Yes,
This is. What do I like? End of season 3. What happened at the end of season 3? I don't watch the show.
Oh.
Where he ripped out the heart.
Oh, with Marcel and did that stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's always ripping out a heart. I don't know. I mean, he's like a monster with a trace of humanity left in him, and he's desperately clinging to that. So I guess that does kind of make him noble. Whether he's the most noble, I'm not sure. I think that requires further scrutiny. But what do I think the future holds for him? Well, I'm filming it right now, so I can't tell you that. I can't tell you what the future holds. I've always thought that the show was about the last days of the Michelsons. I've always thought that the show was about the apocalypse of this family, that we're closing the book on a 1,000-year chapter, that it's essentially not to be too gloomy, but I think it's the end. I think it's the end for these people, and so I think that we're racing towards our extinction.
I can already tell we're getting along. So, okay, this is a very creative one. We noticed that Elijah's always carrying his handkerchief, as well as he is always feeling the need to feel exceptionally tidy. So, that being in mind, do you think he can have obsessive-compulsive disorder?
I wouldn't doubt it. And can you imagine obsessive-compulsive disorder at vamp speed? It must be incredible. It must be a phenomenal thing.
Oh my gosh.
It's true. Like, speaking of OCD, which I think I have a little bit myself. I mean, we can't look with the camera, but there's a collection of cigarette lighters up there, of all the things that one might be disposed to collecting. It just seems like an odd, and not special cigarette lighters either. They're not like arcane vintage ones. It's just a collection of Bic colored cigarette lighters. It's such an odd. Anyway, OCD, which I might share with my protagonist. Yeah, I would say he certainly does. I mean, he's nothing if not meticulous. I'd love to see him do anything, any menial or domestic task at vamp speed, though. I think that's something we need to see at some point. Just even just folding laundry would be phenomenal.
You can start a housekeeping service.
I always felt like the Michelsons had staff to do it.
Yeah, it was stuff that we never see. I mean, we've been better about it this season, about seeing, like now and again we pushed for seeing, like, for example, upon whom they feed. Like we make mention of the fact that we need fresh blood around and things like that. It's something that's not discussed enough, and I think it's an interesting part of who they are. It's funny because I think that's why people tune into the show. It's more that they tune into because of that resonant question. Is like, we're not really interested in what they do so much as we're interested in who they are. So that's why even and especially the mundane can be kind of fascinating. But I'm being a little too mundane right now. So next question. Right, let's go with something like.
Okay. So, as someone who loves special effects, I'm interested to know what has been your favorite scene with special effects in it that you've shot on the original so far?
You know, I don't enjoy doing scenes with special effects because I enjoy scenes where I get, to me, like the greatest special effect is another person. You know, I became an actor, you know, traditionally through the theater, so I like learning your discipline in that way. You usually there's not only no special effects. You quite often don't have costumes when you're rehearsing. You don't have the I mean, in film or TV, the environment looks like the environment. In theater, before the stage is built, you're rehearsing in a room like this, or you know, and you're pretending it's like the Empire State Building or you know the Love Boat or whatever the hell you're doing, and so you're actively using your imagination all the time. To me, I think the imagination is the greatest, you know, special effect of an actor of any type of performance art. But I will say that I did see the beginning of, I saw an episode at the beginning of the season to come, and I saw a wolf attack that was done in special effects, and I think I'm releasing a spoiler for you. I might get in trouble for this. I saw a wolf attack in the beginning of season 4, and it's phenomenal. Like I did think, wow, that's an incredible look for our show.
You heard it here first.
You heard it there first.
All right. So, right. Next question is, in watching some of your previous interviews, it's my understanding that you and your co-star, Joseph Morgan, bond over, as you put it, doing mountains of pure white cocaine. Other than that, what's your favorite pastime?
There is no. I like that you did that. And then, you know, what's my favorite pastime?
Besides cocaine.
I just love being with my children. You know, I barely get to see them. It's been around a little over a month since I've seen them at this point. I just don't get to grow with them. You know, one of the advantages of the show is that you make decent money and you get decent, I suppose, exposure, so that so it makes your career a little easier. But it's I wish I was with my daughter and my son. You know, and I'm missing huge pieces of their evolution and development. You know, like they're different people every time I call them, like at this age, because my son is like 20 months and my daughter is 3 years, and missing just even these little increments of time. You know, they're just, it's leaps and bounds, do you know what I mean? They're my favorite pastime. I do Muay Thai, which is a martial art. I say this in every interview, but it's a kind of a kickboxing martial art thing. I stopped at the beginning of this year because I'm becoming an old man and my knees weren't holding up. So, but I'll resume that when I go back to Los Angeles. I love everything to do with fighting, sports, and things like that. I love. It's strange. I didn't develop this interest until my mid-30s. You know, I didn't start it until like 34, 35. I abhorred anything violent before that, and then I sort of started to see the science in it. I love reading. I love art. I love listening to music. I don't know. It's boring. There's no. What else do I do? I don't know. My kids, UFC. I love languages too. Like I speak Spanish, and I just started French.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I remember I used to have a fascination with language when I was younger, and I've definitely loved art like all my life.
Well, language is something I don't think we should ever relinquish. You know, language is something that we should all be teaching ourselves. I started at 31 with Spanish, and I'm decent. You know, by 35 I was decently fluent, and that was all self-taught. You know, and a few visits to South America, but it's not hard. It's just persistence. You know.
Yeah.
I think there's a weird thing we have in the West where we we have this arrested development. We think that we think that we learn things in schools, and that's where learning stops, and that's why there's this stagnant quality. People say, "Oh, I wish I'd done that when I was in school." I'm like, "You're not dead, you know."
Yeah.
My mother-in-law taught herself like 4 languages through her 40s and her 50s, and she speaks all of them fluently. All of them fluently, among other things. She's a superhero, you know, my wife's mother. She does, you know, basketry and weaving and painting. She's just like this incredible and complete artist, and she never, ever, ever stops growing.
It's great.
Yeah.
I really love that.
I aspire to that. It's a weird disease we have of not challenging ourselves.
The next question is, and it's one of the last ones, I believe. Have you ever had a crazy fan experience, and if so, fill us in?
You see, you told me you were going to ask me original questions here.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Crazy. You haven't failed me at all. You know what? When I was in Brazil, there was a time when I was in a car. I know I spilled a little. I don't know what on my pants. There was a group of fans who decided to get into a car and chase us at high speed down the freeways of São Paulo. And that was nutty. And so our driver started swerving, and I remember saying to the driver, "It's not worth it. Can we not? Please don't do this. This is not the Bourne Identity, and I don't need you to do this. I'm not Matt Damon. Please, like just make certain that I get to the hotel in one piece." But I don't think they're going to shoot us. I think they just want photographs. So let them follow us, but don't murder us. But chasing us seemed crazy. Brazilian fans are a whole other level of passion in terms of their devotion to the people they like on television. They're crazy, in a beautiful way.
Yes. We're all beautifully crazy.
I agree.
I would definitely agree that. I mean, I think you're crazy, I'm crazy, and I'm sure you're a little crazy.
Yeah, I'm definitely crazy.
We're all crazy.
So, in tradition of Two Single Moms' normal 3 questions, I'm going to carry on the tradition. And the 3 questions are: do you watch Supernatural?
No, I don't watch the originals. How do I have time for Supernatural? No, I've never seen it.
Have you ever seen or watched The Walking Dead?
No. I watched the pilot, and the pilot was directed by somebody special. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember the pilot. I thought, wow. I read the books up until, I read The Walking Dead. I read dozens and dozens of their comics, the Kirkman comics, before they were made into the show, and I read right up until when they took the prison, and then they were out of the prison, and then they found the new township, and led by those crazy people, and I loved it. But I watched the pilot. I thought the pilot was decent. It was a good replica of the first comic. And then I think he was removed or fired from The Walking Dead, the guy, and
Adler?
what's that?
Adler? Charlie Adler? Is that it?
No, I don't think so. I can't remember who it was, but I remember it was somebody really
I know
interesting.
who you're talking about.
Anyway, we should look it up. You look it up while we're talking. Anyway, and I watched the 2nd episode in the first season, and from the opening frame, I went, "Oh, this is being made differently. I don't like it. I didn't like it, so I stopped watching." So I hear it's great. I mean, I like the comic books very much, and I like that it was a study of these people, you know. I mean, it's not about the zombies. What's it?
Darabont.
Yes.
Frank Darabont.
Frank Darabont, thank you, yeah.
We live very close to where it's filmed, so
Yeah.
If you ever want a tour.
Yeah, we
Nice.
live around driving distance, half an hour down the road.
Nice.
It's in the same county.
Not in this life. I'm not that interested in it. Although I work with Lauren Cohen a lot because she was on Vampire Diaries, and we're still sort of, you know, whenever we see each other, we're buddies. I like her a lot. Thought she was very good on our show too, on the Vampire Diaries.
She seems Great.
Yeah.
And then the third question is, do you know who Kid Rock is, and have you ever been to one of his shows?
I know who Kid Rock is. I remember coming to New York. I lived in New York for a summer in 2000, and his song "I Want to Be a Cowboy." There was, I think that was '99, 2000, I think, and I was in my mid-20s, and he was, yeah, I love, I loved that song. I've since discovered that he's an unusual individual. Do I like him? I mean, he's I don't know. We put it this way: we have significantly different political ideas. But other than my relationship with that song in New York in 2000, where I was just trying to sleep with every bartender in Manhattan, female.
To clarify that.
That's my only sort of like relationship to Kid Rock.
So no show. You've never
No, I have no desire to go to one of his shows. I feel like he. I mean, I'm sure he's wonderful, but I think that my son, who's 20 months old, might have more musical prowess than he does. Oh, come on, yeah, you're his biggest fan. You like Kid Rock?
Oh,
I'm sorry, man. 3 for 3. I blew it.
He's pretty awesome, though.
Yeah.
He's more awesome than most people.
I mean, I grew up with his music playing in the car, so I kind of had to grow to like him.
Right. Yeah, I know that feeling.
And then, so finally, is there any kind of inspirational message you would like to give to any of your fans out there who may be going through a rough time or may have a disability?
I mean, I would sort of, I would administer the same advice to somebody with a disability who also, as I would to somebody who didn't have a disability. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that is to do precisely what you're doing, which is to find what you love that doesn't hurt anybody else and do it with everything you have and with all of your heart. That's what I would say.
I really love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that concludes the interview.
Oh, well, thank you very much for
Thank
having me.
you.
I'm sorry, I hope it wasn't too boring. But it was really lovely to meet you.
It was definitely great to have you here, and as she had said, I love your work. And
Oh, thank you.
It's definitely amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope it's not going to be for much longer, so I hope you enjoy it. I mean, anyway. Okay, thank you.
Done it.
Stop recording.